friends, it's Tracy and Violet from Tea Time with Tracy and Violet. This is a spontaneous video. I didn't really have this planned, but I'm just having my morning coffee. It's 5 o'clock in the morning. I've been up for about an hour. We went for a walk and all that jazz, but I'm having coffee, not tea right now. And I just thought it's February 2nd. Happy Groundhog's Day, everybody. Very exciting. And I'll just tell you the books that I read in January. If I can remember I remember the stories, but names and things like that. But yeah, I need another snort off my coffee. All right, so I didn't read these in this order. They're just in a pile here, so can't really say. But this is book 2 of that trilogy. The month before, I read 1 Second After by William R. Forshen. This is 1 year after, and then there's Final Days or something like that. But this is book 2. So in the very first book, I have a video out about that. I can put it down below, but it's pretty much the United States, North America, Canada too, I guess, probably, was hit with a nuclear EMP and knocked out all electricity, anything with the circuit, like anything, and all hell broke loose. So this is book 2, which I didn't find quite as drastic, as frightening. In some ways, yes, but the first book was quite terrifying to me in the sense, like, yeah, people are scary. And this is 1 year after that EMP hit. So America, or the little small town that this is focused on, it's kind of reestablished itself on a basic, very basic level. There's no telephone, there's no nothing like that, but we're following a man named John Matherson, and he has a teenage daughter, and he's a professor. He was a professor at a university in this town, but now he's kind of like one of the town leaders. Not that he wanted to be that, but he's just level-headed kind of guy. And all of a sudden, this book was more along the politics side of things, whereas the first book was more along the lines of just basic survival. But there is some sort of a mail service, but it's very basic, very, very basic. And all of a sudden, all the young people in this town, which isn't a great big town, but they've had to defend themselves against hordes of people and stuff like that, in the sense of survival. And their army that they have is the young people and able-bodied people to help protect their little community that they have. But they've all been drafted by the United States government. Violet. But they have not heard hide nor hair of any kind of government reestablishing. So this is out of the blue, and all of a sudden they're drafted to report to such and such a place. Anyways, it's all this sort of thing, and I'll probably try to do a video on this in more detail. But one of the goals I have this year is to finish all the series that I started last year. So I have a number of series that I started but haven't finished. This is one of them. So I have one more book to read in this series, and then I'll be done. But yes, 1 year after. Big one that I read that I really, really enjoyed was The Swan Song. This is a chunker. And I read this. This is the fastest I've read such a big book. I read it in a couple of days, honestly. Like, I really, really enjoyed this. This is often compared to The Stand, or like semi to The Stand. It's not really. The only similarity is that it's kind of like a apocalyptic world, but it's not like The Stand at all. But I went in this not really knowing what Swan Song was about, and this is by Robert McCammon. And it follows a few different points of view, and then of course it all comes together in the end. But yeah, how can I say? There's a lot of different points of view, from the President of the United States down to a little boy going on vacation with his parents. You know what I mean? There's a few different points of view. And one of them is this little girl called Swan, who is the daughter of a single mother in bad relationships and things like that. So I'll make a video about this one for sure, because there's a lot to talk about this one. I really, really like this one. Yeah, Swan Song. Have you ever read this one? Let me know. So this is another series that I started last year, 2021, but haven't finished. I still have a book or two, and I have them. I just haven't read them yet. The Gianna Darling, The Fallen Men series. And this is book 4. So I read this one at the beginning of the month. I'm just trying to think of what the names is. Well, King is one of them. The couple in this story have already had their own book, but the Fallen Men series encompasses like a whole MC club, and King and, oh for goodness sakes, what's her name? I can't even think. No, that's King. Crescenda. Yeah, they're book 1 in this series. And King is the son of the president of this Fallen Men series, or motorcycle club. And their first book was an age gap. Like, he's with an older woman. So when I read this one, I'm like, oh, it's their book again. Like, it's a new book with those guys in it. I mean, throughout the whole series, you get crossovers and cameos and things like that, of course, because there's one big story that goes along this whole series. And I enjoyed this book, but not as much as I liked the other books in the series. I mean, it's okay, but it follows along. They've already been together a few years, and in the first book, she was a teacher at a high school where they met. Now she's a teacher at a university, but her dream is to start a bookstore in this little town. This is based in Canada. And he wants to be patched into the motorcycle club, but he's being treated like everybody else, rightfully so. But he's very much an intellectual, and he has some really good ideas, and he sees himself really helping the MCs and just a whole bunch of stuff, corrupt, dirty cops and things like that. It was good, but not as good as their first book, I didn't think myself. But yeah, this is book 4. The first book is King and Crescenda. The second book is his father, Zeus, and Lulu or something. The third book is King's sister, Haley, and her beau. God, I can't think of his name. And now it's back to him. But the other 2 books that I have are not with those guys. They're of other people in this motorcycle club. But I'm knocking this off, so I'll probably read another one of these next month, or well, this month, maybe, to try to wrap up this series. I don't know if there's going to be more in it or not. Another book that I read, well, I'll go with this one, is, if you've been watching for a while, I was so excited about Kresely Cole coming out with a new book, and I did a reading vlog. That was my, not last video, the video before. Really excited about Kresely Cole coming out with her new book, Monroe. She hadn't written a book for the Immortals After Dark since I think 2017, and I was like trying to catch up. I read the first few books in the series. This is like book 19, and I did read that book this month. Gosh, I got a tickle. And anyways, I just didn't have time to read the whole series, and I love the whole series, but I was trying to read ones that kind of more connected to Monroe's story. They all kind of connect, but anyways, I read Shadow's Claim, and I forget which number of book this is, but this is Dacian. Uh, the first Dacian? No. Dacian is a vampire that's not crazy, not a red-eyed horde vampire. He comes from the land of blood and mist, and he's an assassin. What's his name? Trahan. And he's sent to a demon realm where Bettina, who is a sorceress, is put up for auction, kind of, not really auction, but her guardians are putting on this big tournament. Whoever wins the tournament gets to wed Bettina, because they're worried that she can't protect herself because she can't display her powers as a sorceress. And they're tired of, they just want to get her married off, sort of thing. So this big tournament is open to everybody, from the baddest of the bad to the goodest of the good. And Bettina has a really good friend who she grew up with. I forget what his name is. I've read this book several times. And she is kind of in love with him, but he's not in love with her. He's kind of like a ladies' man, and goes around. But he cares about her. He just doesn't see her in that way. But he doesn't want to see her married off to some monster that just wants her for her title. So he enters the tournament, and he's a fantastic fighter. Like, he has a good chance of winning. But Trahan comes. He's an assassin, and he's sent out to assassinate her friend for one reason or another. And if anybody ever sees him, he has to kill them, or he's not going to be allowed to go back to his hidden realm. And anyways, I won't get into it all right now, but Bettina ends up seeing him, and he realizes that she is his fated mate, and she's going to be up for grabs in this tournament, and he's sent to assassinate her best friend, and drama ensues, kind of thing. So, awesome book. Really love it, but I'm biased for Kresely Cole. They're all phenomenal. Another one I read of hers was McCreeve. Now, Monroe, if you've seen that video, this is his brother William, or Julium. And if you know, lichen in this series generally come from Scotland, so they have these really deep Scottish brogues, and it's sexy as hell. But anyways, Monroe and McCreeve are identical twins, and it goes into their childhood. He had a traumatic childhood, being sexually assaulted by a succubus and kind of brainwashed, because there's a whole thing that goes along with it. But this is his story, and the love interest in this, Chloe, is that her name? Yeah. She's an up-and-rising Olympian soccer player, and I won't get into too much of that, but another fantastic book. And at the end of this book is an epilogue that kind of starts to go into Monroe's book. And it's a heartbreaking, emotional book. It really is. So anyways, there's that. And somebody's coming downstairs. Just a minute. Okay. So yeah, the other book I read was Monroe, and that's about Julian's brother, and it was top notch. It really was. It was worth the wait. I can't wait for the next one, and I'll put that link to the video down below if you want to see my thoughts on it. It was amazing, and it just follows follows him. So, last but not least, I read, this is another series I'm trying to finish. This has 2 books in it. Book 1, no, yeah, book 1 and book 2. The second one is called Safari. And I read this all as like one big book, so it was hard to distinguish the 2. But a couple of months back, I read the prequel to this series, and there's still a couple more books I got to read in it. And I plan on trying to finish this series this year at some point. I don't have any more of the books of this, so I need to acquire them one way or another. But this series follows a zombie apocalypse. The prequel book I really, really liked. It was in the process of the outbreak of some sort. So the first book, I did a video on that too, but it follows Gus, or Augustus Barry. And in that prequel, he was like a painter, house painter, him and his buds, and that's when it breaks out. This book takes off where that prequel ends about a year later, and he's kind of established hold up in this really nice, actually, mountain house. And this takes place in Nova Scotia, which is just makes it that much better because that's where I'm from. It's where I live. This mountain house that's rigged up for solar power and stuff. So he has running water, and he has power. Like, you couldn't ask for anything better. And the little town that this little city that he, this zombie, it went all over the world, but that he's stationed around. He goes, it just shows his days in the life of going to kind of forage and scavenge and bring back to his house and fortify his house. I mean, it's just Jimmy rigged up. It's nothing fancy, but he's pretty much an alcoholic. And it's interesting because in the first part of this book, there's still people around, but nobody trusts anybody, and he doesn't know anybody. It's just straggle people. Sometimes they're straggle people. And at one point, he was going around scavenging houses, and there was one person who wasn't a zombie, was hurt on a lawn, and zombies were coming for him. So he drove up and kind of saved him, brought him back to his house. And there, his friend lived for almost a year, and they became really, really close. But his friend decided, it was time for him to go and go off. But in that meantime, there was other people that came, and it follows what happens when people who seem nice are not so nice, and things ensue for sure. And it's quite terrifying, really, because there doesn't seem to be any medium. You either are good people or you're real bad people. There's no in between. And maybe that's how people would be if it was the end of the world. I don't know. So, and then the second book in this is after things were dealt with, and yeah, it's kind of, the whole thing kind of encompasses good people that you think are bad, and then your even more distrust of humans takes over. You seem to go a little crazy, and yeah, I would make a video about this too, because I really enjoyed it. I did, and I'm glad I read it. And yeah, it's a interesting thing. There's nothing big and complicated about it, but the way Keith writes, I don't know, it just seems very realistic. So anyways, that's everything that I read this month, I think. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Plus Monroe is 8. So I didn't read as much, but I read some big chunkers, or well, at least that one big chunker. And it was just that kind of month. So I'm proud of that. And there, trying to get a thumbnail, I guess, but Anyways, it's February 2nd. I'm already almost done one book. And I did start another book, but I haven't finished it yet, so I'll just include that next month's. But there. So with that, guys, I guess I can get this video up. Not what I do, I kind of make a big pot of tea and do a whole bunch of videos all in the same day. I just haven't had a chance to. January's been a crazy month for me, so that book haul, that was my last video before this, that has been scheduled to go up for like a month. So I need to sit down. I haven't even done videos about all the books I read back in December, so it's just, yeah, it's bananas time. So that's it. But thanks for joining us, and I'm going to say peace, love, and happiness today and every single day. Please like, share, and subscribe if you so choose, but if not, that's okay too. I still love you. I still want all the happiness in the world for each and every one of you out there. I certainly do. I really, really honest and truly do. Yes, I do. So, all right, guys, with that, I'm going to finish my coffee, and I hope you all have a good day. So have a good night or have a good morning, and I might see you tomorrow.